Okay, welcome to week 2, view 3, Heather on the Moors. So for this one we start with a chain of 38 chains. I nearly said stitches then, but chains. So I've already done those. I think by now everybody can work a chain. And then for row 1 we are working a treble into the 4th chain from the hook. So that's a UK treble, so you wrap once, you count 1, 2, 3, go into the 4th chain, so it looks like that, and then complete the treble. Now this first row is all about just working trebles to the end, so wrap, we've worked into that one already, we're going into this one. Okay, and we're going to do this all the way along the line, so you don't need to watch me work all these trebles. You want to work through until you will have 36 trebles, and that will include the chain of 3 at the end here. So you'll have 35 actual trebles, and that's number 36. Okay, we'll join you again in a moment to work on row 2. Just don't forget that at the end we're changing to yarn B. For me that's sage, so the last pull through on the last stitch you want to change to whatever is yarn B for you. Okay, see you shortly. Okay, so that's how we look at the end of row 1, and then I've joined in with my next colour on the last pull through of the last stitch. So we're now going to turn the work. It's up to you which way you turn, and then now rows 2 to 13 it's recommended that you don't cut the yarn as you've finished with it, because you will be able to just carry it gently up the side. So just bear that in mind, you don't need to cut the yarn at the end of every row. Now for row 2 we're doing a chain of 3, and those of you who've watched me before would know I like to do the first chain with the tail. Obviously you do what you prefer. So I've now got 3 chains there, and that counts as the first treble, and then we're going to do 1 treble into the next stitch. So remember it's the UK treble, so wrap in under both, grab it, bring it back through, round and through 2, round and through 2. So you're going to work for this row trebles all the way along to the end. When you get to the final stitch, do change to yarn F, whichever that one is for you for the next row. So we'll see you again for round 3 or row 3 after we've got to the end. Remember you need to end up with 36 stitches again, including the chain of 3 at the beginning. You don't want to be losing or gaining at this point. Okay, we'll see you shortly. Okay, so that's rows 1 and 2 complete, and I've changed yarn colour here at the end for beginning row 3. Now with row 3 we start with a 1 chain, and in this case the 1 chain doesn't count as a stitch. So then we're going to work a double crochet, 1 into each of the first 2 stitches. So I am actually going to work into that stitch, and that's the one I've been avoiding when we've been doing the chains of 3. So just grab my yarn. So a UK double crochet is when you've gone into the hole, you grab 1 loop, just pull that a little bit tighter, and then yarn around your hook and you pull through 2. So that's into the hole, grab the yarn, bring it back through, wrap and bring it through 2. So there are my 2 stitches and the 1 chain that we're ignoring for now. Now we're moving on to double trebles. So that's a wrap twice into the hole, grab some yarn, bring it back through, so you've got your 4 loops, then wrap and through 2, wrap and through 2, wrap wrap and through 2, and then we're doing double crochet into the next stitch. So that's going to create a little bit of a puffed up stitch there, and that's what you're after. So double treble, so you've wrapped twice into the hole, grab, bring it back through, so you've got your 4 loops on your hook, wrap through 2, wrap through 2, wrap and through 2, and then I like to sort of push it forward as I go in to do the double crochet. Don't worry if yours sort of poofs out a little bit at the back, you can push this stitch to whichever side you want it. So 2 wraps into the hole, grab it, bring it back through, wrap through 2, wrap through 2, wrap and through 2, and then a UK double crochet into your next stitch. So that's just through the hole, into the hole, grab it, bring it back through and through both at once. So you're going to work that all the way to the end. You should have exactly the right number of stitches to finish on your double crochet. If you haven't, just check that you actually have the right number of stitches, because when working rows of just trebles, it's very easy to either lose or gain a stitch. So that's the start, and we'll come back in a minute and have a look at it when we've finished, and then move on to row 4, and we'll need to change yarn again at the end of this row. Okay. Okay, so this is where we are at the end of row 3, and I've now changed to the new yarn, which for me is the lovely lime colour. So row 4, we have got a chain of 3, so I'm going to do the first one with the tail, and then another 2 chains. Doesn't matter which way around you work is while you're working that chain, just it's whichever's more comfortable for you. I quite often end up working with the old side looking at me and then turn round. So we're doing a half treble into the next stitch. So that's where you've wrapped once, bring it through, wrap and do all 3, and then a treble into the next stitch. So that's where you've got your 3 on your loop there, and then round and through 2 and round and through 2, and then you're going to keep working alternate half trebles and then a full treble all the way across like so. So a half treble and then a full treble where you're pulling it through 2 twice. So you're going to work that all the way to the end, working a treble into your final stitch, and don't forget to rejoin with yarn B. So we'll be back in a moment. We'll show you how it looks when you get to the end of the row. Okay. Okay, so this is how we look at the end of row 4. Rows 5 and 6 are going to be worked, so row 5 is worked as row 3 and row 6 is worked as row 4, just changing to the appropriate yarn at the end of the rows. So just follow your written instructions for whichever yarn you need to be using, but we will come back after finishing row 6 and get on to row 7. So I'll let you carry on with those. If you need a quick recap, just go back on the video. Okay, see you soon. Okay, so this is how we look at the end of row 6. So I have actually pulled these lumpy bits through. These were the extra long stitches. So this row 6, you've worked on the right side in that direction, so I've pulled these to the front this way, entirely up to you which side you want those on. So that's where we are at the end of row 6. Rows 7 to 12 are just repeating rows 3 and 4 again several times. Make sure that you keep your colour sequence going. It's yarn B, yarn F and yarn G each time, and at the end of row 12 don't change your colour. So again, go back to your written instructions, just follow them through fairly steadily, and we'll see you at the end of row 12. Okay, so this is how we look at the end of row 12. So it's a 3 colour row repeat, so you're going round in those 3 colours all the time, but it's actually a 2 stitch or 2 different rows that you're repeating, so you get this lovely bobbled effect in different colours. So now we're going to start with row 13. You haven't changed yarns at the end of row 12. We're keeping row 12's yarn. So row 13 starts with a 2 chain, and that counts as your first half treble. So I'm ignoring that first hole there. I'm now going to do double crochets. So UK doubles are where you just bring the yarn through and then through both. So I'm doing 4 of these. 2, 3, 4. Then I'm doing a half treble. So that's wrap once in the hole, back through. So you've got your 3 loops, and then round and through all 3. And then we're going to do a treble into each of the next 4 stitches. So wrap into the hole, bring it back through, round and through 2, round and through 2. So 4 trebles. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're doing a half treble. So we start in the same way, but we wrap and pull through all 3. And then 4 double crochets. Make sure you get both loops. And then we're starting that sequence again where you do the half treble, so through all 3, and then 4 trebles. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a half treble. That's through all 3, and then 4 double crochets. And we keep this sequence going all the way to the end. So we've got a half treble, 4 trebles. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, a half treble, 4 double crochet, so my 4th one is there, and then the very last stitch of this one is a half treble. You can either go into one of the loops there or just into the hole. I quite like going just into that full hole there, but personal choice. So that's a half treble. Up the end, oh, and I've forgotten, I'm just going to take that one back because I've forgotten to change the yarn colour, so do that again, and this time we are going for yarn B, which for me is the sage, and we're going to pull all through there. So not pulling too tight, we don't want to pucker the edges. So that is how you will look at the end of round 30, or row 13, where you've got a slight rippling effect going across there. Okay, back again in a moment with row 14. Okay, so this is where we are after row 13. You can see that little undulation there. So row 14 we are back using, for me, the sage yarn, and we're going to do 2 chains there, and then we're going to start working into the back loop only. So I'm doing 4 trebles into the back loop only. So I've wrapped there, I'm ignoring the first stitch because my chain takes over from that, and then we're going in there. So hopefully you can see fairly clearly that's the little sort of love heart shape, and you're going into the back one only. So I'm doing 4 UK trebles, so that's into there. Just sort the yarn out there. It is a little bit trickier, just take your time. So that's my 4 trebles worked into the back loop only. Then I'm doing a half treble. So that's where I'm coming through all 3. Again, everything worked into the back loop only. And then we're doing double crochets into the back loop only. And that's 4 individual ones. And what we're doing in effect is flattening the line back off. So where the undulations are, where the tall stitches are, you've got the short stitches on top, and where the shorter stitches are on the row below, you've got your longer stitches. So a half treble followed by 4 trebles. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a half treble again, and then 4 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4. So half treble, 4 full trebles, another half treble, 4 double crochet, and half treble, and then final 4 trebles, that's 3, 4, then we've got our half treble, which is just fighting me a little bit. Okay, so as you can see there, as we've worked our way along, we've flattened it out again. So don't change yarn just yet, we'll be back in a moment. Okay, row 15, we're using the same coloured yarn, and we're going to start making another sort of ripple effect again. So we're doing the 2 chains, which count as your first stitch, so we ignore that one, and then we're going to work a treble into each of the next 4 stitches. So again, UK treble, 1, 2, 3, 4, a half treble into the next stitch, and we're going under both loops this time, so make sure that you catch both loops. Half treble all the way through, and then a double crochet into the next 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, a half treble into the next stitch, so you've got your 3 loops and you pull all the way through, and then we're going to repeat that two times with that one. So we have a treble into the next 4 stitches, half treble, four double crochet, and a half treble, and then 4 trebles, 2, 3, 4, a half treble, 4 double crochet, and a half treble, and then 4 trebles, number 4, and we're going to finish with a half treble at the end. Oh, and make sure that you change yarn colour. For me, that's going to be the gold, the antique gold. So we're going to pull that through for that final loop there. Now you will notice that I have now cut off some of the ends because I don't need all the different colours that we've been using. So I've got rid of a few, and I'm going to sew some ends in because I don't like them floating around. So we're now on with yarn C, and I'll be back in a moment with row 16. Okay, so row 16, as I mentioned, I was going to get rid of a lot of the ends, so I have done. I'm now on with this lovely gold yarn, and again this row is going to be worked into the back loops only of the previous row. So I'm going to start with my 2 chain, so as normal, one with the tail, get my working yarn set up and do another one with that. Right, then we're going to do 1 double crochet into the back loop only of the next 4 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a half treble, and then a set of 4 trebles, again back loop only. So you've got that nice little ridge coming forward. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then a half treble, and then you're going to repeat. So double crochets, 4 of them, worked into the back loops only. 1, 2, 3, 4, then a half treble, and then 4 trebles, and keep working that across, all the way across there to the end, and we'll come back in a moment with the end of the row. So at the end of row 16, this is what we've got, and you finish with 4 double crochet and a half treble. there. So we'll be back in a moment with row 17. Don't change yarns at this point. Okay. Okay, rows 17 to 24 are lovely and simple. You just do a chain of 3 and then a treble into every stitch. So can't really get more simple than that. You are working all the way through both loops, no back loop or front loops, only on this one. So keep working, make sure you change yarn as per the instructions. So at the end of row 19 you join in yarn D, and at the end of row 21 you join in yarn E. So we're working the next few rows. I won't demo them because basically I don't really think you need it, but I will come back and show you what it looks like at the end of row 24. Okay, see you soon. Okay, so here we are at the end of row 24. So we've got 3 rows in the gold, 2 rows in the peachy colour, and another 3 rows in the cerise pink for me. So I'm now going to start on the borders, so we'll come round to that one in just a moment. Okay, next we're going to make the tree. Now the tree in the pattern is shown in black, and I've made one here and I've left a very long string for sewing this to the fabric square, so that would go something like that on there. Now we've obviously said before you can make things in whatever colour etc that you want, so although this one is in black, that's not going to show up very well while I'm trying to demo it, so I am going to work in the lime green. Just for a bit of fun, you can make a forest of these trees if you like. It doesn't have to be a single one, and you can make whatever colour you like. It's made in one piece, and it is a little bit fiddly, so do take your time. I'm going to show you the whole thing, which is going to make quite a long video, so just pick up the bits you want, fast forward, you know, rewind, whatever you need to do in order to make this. So we'll start with the first instruction, which is chain of 9. So don't make these chains too small because you are working into them. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I've got my chain of 9, and then you make a second chain of 9 just added on to this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now the second set of 9 make the first branch. So then you need to slip stitch into the second stitch from the hook. So not that one, but this one. So put your hook through there, grab some yarn, bring it back through, and then go straight through, and this is the fiddly bit, go straight through the other stitch. So you've not done any more wrapping, you've just pulled it through the 2. Then you do that another 7 times. So into the next one, grab your yarn, bring it back through, and through the same stitch. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, can see it's a little bit fiddly. It's mainly because you haven't got much to hold on to. So we've got 7 plus the one at the beginning, and then you make a chain of 2. That chain of 2 is going to form part of the trunk, so it's there, but sort of ignore it a little bit now. So next we make a chain of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, slip stitch into the second chain from the hook. So that's through and through. And then we're going to do slip stitch into the next 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's the second branch. This is part of the trunk, so you should have that bit there. Okay, third branch. So we've got a chain of 2 and then a chain of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then same thing again. We're going to slip stitch into the second chain from the hook, and then into the next 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, chain of 2, and then another chain of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then slip stitch into the second chain from the hook. That's the first one, and then we're going to do another chain, another 3. So 1, 2, 3 more slip stitches there, and a chain of 2. And then we get to the top branches. So this is worked 3 times. So a chain of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Slip stitch into your second chain, and then into the next 2. So that's 1 slip stitch, 2. Okay, and we're doing this 3 times, so I'm going to do another chain of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then starting in the second chain from the hook, we're doing the 3 slip stitch. 1, 2, 3, and then another chain of 4. And 3 slip stitch. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now you're going to start working back down the trunk, and we're going to start by doing a slip stitch into each of the sets of 2. So I'm going to start with that one. So that's a slip stitch, and then this is where it can get very fiddly. So that's the one I've worked into. I'm now going into this. Okay, so that's what I've got so far. Then we're going to repeat branch 4, so I'm going to chain 5 and starting in the second chain from the hook, I'm then going to do a slip stitch, where 4 slip stitches, or a series of 4 slip stitches. 2, 3, 4. Then we're now here, so I'm going to do a slip stitch there, that's one, another one there, so you can see how I'm creating the branches. Then branch 3 needs 7 chains, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then a set of 6 slip stitches starting in the second chain from the hook. So that's the first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then find your trunk again and work another 2 slip stitches into the next bit of the trunk. That's where we are so far. Then we're on branch 2, so we make a chain of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then again, starting in the second one from the hook, we're doing a series of slip stitches. We're doing 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just straighten it out so you know where you are and you don't start working in weird places. Then 2 more slip stitches into the trunk. 1, 2, and then a chain of 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and we're doing our final set of 8, so miss 1 into the second one and 8 slip stitches across here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we're back at the original trunk. So to work down the trunk, we're doing 1 slip stitch into each of the next 2 chain, 2. Then we're going to make the trunk a bit fatter, so we're going to do a double crochet. So that's in the same way, grab the yarn, bring it back through, but then wrap and through 2. So that's 1, 2, 3 of those, and then a half treble into the next 4 chains. So half treble is where you've wrapped, go in, bring it back through, but then you wrap and go through all 3. That's your half treble. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're right back at the beginning. So if I just lay that down to give you the overview, that's what you've got. Now don't forget, leave a nice long tail to sew these on. You can just sew the trunk on from the back if you wish, onto the fabric, or you can do each of the branches as well. It's just up to you, but I'm leaving a nice long length there, so just cut that off and then gently pull that through. There we go, all complete and just ready to stitch on. Okay, so we're back with the border, and as we've worked on some of the ones before, we're having groups of 3 trebles. So to start with, you miss the first stitch, which is actually the chain of 3 that was worked at the beginning of row 24, and we're going to join in the cream yarn. So although it says join into the second stitch, you sort of feel like you're joining into the first stitch, but you're not. The first stitch would be that one. So stitch 1, and we're going to do a chain of 3. I can separate the yarn. So as before, I'm going to do 1 chain with the tail, and then 2 chains with the working yarn. And then, because we're working in sets of 3, we're working 2 trebles into the same hole. You're then going to miss 2 stitches and start working a treble into that 3rd stitch. So I've missed 1, 2, going into the 3rd one, and we're going to do another set of 3 UK trebles, and we're going to continue that theme. So miss 2, work into the 3rd, and we're going to do that basically all the way around with 2 chains in the corners. So I'm going to get to the end of this row, and then I'll come back and show you the corner and where I'm going to start for the edges, and we'll discuss that a little bit further in just a moment. But that's what you need to achieve across the top for now. Okay, so this is where we are. We've got 12 of those across there, and you can see I've got that 1 stitch at the end there and the 1 stitch at the end there. So then we work a chain of 2, and then we're going to work another 12 sets of trebles down the side, and that means that we can work into, when I find it, the very last treble of that row. So I'm going to cover that with 3 trebles. Then I'm going to miss the next row and work into the next one down, and it works out quite nicely that you can miss a row and work into a row. So worked into that row, missed that row, worked into this row, and you can do this all the way down the side where you miss a row and work into a row, and it changes ever so slightly when you get to the second half of this. So we've missed a row, and what have I got there? 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the 5th set, and then miss that row, work into this row, and I'm then going to work into, so we've got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 there, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. So the slightly bobbly row, I'm going to work 3 trebles into the edge there, and then same here, and I'm working over the threads that have been left along the side, and it does seem to work fairly neatly. So miss that, I'm working into the bright green now. Can you see how that tallies up with each row? So this is the bit that's often a little bit tricky to work out, but Eleonora's been super kind and helpful in working this out, that we can work really easily into these. I'm doing this quite quickly, but please do work this a little bit more slowly and methodically. So I'll just lay that out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we've got our 12 down the side, and I think they're quite nice and evenly spaced. So we're going to turn, do a chain of 2. That would have been my first stitch, so I'm going to start working into that one there, and again you're going to miss 2, work 1, miss 2, work 1, all the way across to the other corner. So I'm going to carry on with that, and then we'll pick up and do a quick look at the other side. Okay. Okay, so this is the bottom. So we've got 12 of these, starting almost, it feels like, in the corner and finishing what feels like right at the end, but you do actually have those stitches fully at the end. Now with this side we want it to work just the same as the other, so I've done a little bit of working out here that again we'll start with this row and then we'll work into every one of the slightly raised rows. I've marked this just to show you but also help myself. That's where I'm going to work one set of the trebles and another set of the trebles, and then it gets a little bit sort of easier. You can then line them up quite easily with where they are at the other side. So I'll be working one into that one, one into this one, but we'll come back and show you in a moment. Don't forget here, you do want to be working over the leftover threads. So I've already done my 2 chain in the corner, and that's 1, 2, 3 in there. I'm going to skip that row and work into this one, so making a point of catching all those threads there. Try and get this as neat as possible. Oops. Carried away there. So again we're missing this section and we're going to go into there, and you can see already how it's covering it up quite nicely. 1, 2, 3, miss this section and into here, miss this section and into here, oops, keep doing that, 2, and then miss this one into there. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm about halfway down. So that's why I've done the mark here, and that reminds me where I'm going, which is into the side of this first set there. 1, 2, 3, and then working into that side bit. I can now remove that one. It really is just a case of spacing them as evenly as you can down the side. Then we're going to miss that row and work into this row. Just need a bit more thread. 1, 2, 3, miss this row, work into that one. Again, miss a row, work into the first set of what is the bright pink for me. And then the final one goes in here. 1, 2, 3, and so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Then I've got a chain of 2, and you join with a slip stitch to the top of the chain of 3, and then we're going to turn the work. So I'll come back in a moment with the second round of the border, but you should have 12 sets of 3 round each side and then a 2 chain in the corner, and we're actually going to turn over and work along the back. Okay, so we've got the reverse of the work facing us, and we're going to start with a chain of 3, and this is actually the final stitch on this row, but we're going to start working in this direction. So we are working 2 trebles, 1 chain, 2 trebles, and then we're going to start working down each stitch of the side, and we're going to work 1 treble into each stitch. So bearing in mind that we've got 12 of these sets of 3, that's going to be 36 stitches down the sides plus the 2 extras in the corner at both ends. So in those 2 stitches, 1 chain, just ignore that one there, 2 stitches, 1 chain, 2 stitches, those 2 stitches belong to that row or that side, and these 2 stitches will belong to this side. So you need to work just steadily down the edge. This is giving it a nice neat border for you to join things together in a little while, but you'll have 40 stitches in total because you'll have 36 trebles worked into the sets of 3, and then 2 and 2 in each corner. So I'm going to quietly work round. So basically it's a treble into every stitch, but the corners are worked 2 trebles, 1 chain and 2 trebles. So nice and easy, and I'll see you at the end of this round. Okay. Okay, so here we are, all finished with the extra edges, and if I just do that a little bit, you see we've got the lovely edgings all the way around. There are 12 sets of 3 all the way around, so it's pretty square. It's not perfect, but you could block it to be absolutely perfect, and then you just do a slip stitch at the end and sew that final end in. So that's the main part of the square done, and the next thing we're going to look at is making the little black tree that goes on one side. You can of course make more of the trees if you want, or something completely different, but I'm going to do the tree that's in the instructions. So we'll see you again in the next one very shortly.